All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
All right, friends, welcome. My name is Chad Sands, and I'm the VP of Marketing at CloudLex and editor of the Trial Lawyers Journal. Now we're going to get to the rest of the hour, and I'm going to bring in our host, Jared Correia. Jared, are you there?
Hello.
Hello,
How's everybody
Jared.
doing?
Thanks
This
for
is the
being
first
here.
presentation I've ever done where I was preceded by a clip from Blade Runner.
Good.
Thrilled about that.
It might be the last.
Let's hope not.
I agree. More Blade Runner. Real quick, I want to do
Blade Runner critically derided when it came out. Now a cult classic.
Yes,
anyway, go
yes,
ahead.
very much like Shawshank Redemption, almost even.
Yes,
Which is a legal movie in some ways, but not an AI movie.
sure is.
Let's do a poll real quick. What is your experience with AI? About 20% haven't started. So that's interesting. 20%
okay.
just exploring.
Higher than I thought it would be.
35 are dabbling, 40%. So I'd say, the majority are kind of dabbling and actively using it, and just 5% are going all in on that. And then the second one, real quick, you yourself, how do you feel about the knowledge of AI just in general? 1 being, I know nothing, please help. And 10, ChatGPT asked me for advice.
And 20 being you made a $500 million investment in AI like Kirkland and Ellis.
Right.
I don't know if we'll get any 20s.
But there are some people, there's a
Everybody's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, but there are some people who say they know what they're doing. Jared, before you get into your presentation, I wanted to share this spot real quick. So let's watch this famous Sminkleberry, and Spingleberry Little Caesars TV spot.
Yeah, may I just say one of the greatest television advertisements in history.
A campaign that stands.
Number one with a bullet when it relates to legal practice.
What's up?
We were going to order pizza online, and in addition to having to build it, enter a password and credit card information, we have to agree to this legally binding terms of service.
And I don't think we're still comfortable proceeding.
Just go to Little Caesars. Their pizzas are hot and ready.
Another win for Smingleberry, and Smingleberry.
Now, the reason why I wanted to share that, and we are going to get into AI right now, is that I was in GPT and created a prompt last night because I play around in Loveable, which is vibe coding, and we're going to get into that to start. And I created a Smingleberry and Spingleberry website in literally 10, 15 minutes. And so this is what Loveable came up with from that one GPT prompt. And then I kind of wanted to update the lawyer. So I added Jared's photo to add to his body. And then I wanted to make it a little bit more flashy and animate the numbers. This is what you can do.
You said 10, 15 minutes to effectively create a full website.
Yes. Well, I mean, I just did the homepage. And
V1, you know.
Yes. But pretty solid stuff. And I think what would be interesting is if anyone out there in the audience has ideas for another vibe coding project we could build maybe throughout the next 40 minutes or so.
Let's do puppy adoption.
Adoption.
Well, what I was about to say is that before I got really excited about a question coming in is, like I've been teaching some AI classes to lawyers recently through bar associations, and like we have just built projects like on the fly.
Yes.
And it does take about 10 or 15 minutes. So we had an attorney that we were talking with who wanted to launch like a side project.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's build a website. Let's design the business plan. Let's put revenue projections together. Let's design a logo. Now we use different AI tools for that. Like I think some stuff is better than other things for certain use cases, but we cranked that out in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's unbelievable, the time saving.
And I'm not a proponent of using like a Loveable for, or a vibe coded site for your full blown law firm website. I'm still a WordPress guy. I think you have way more control and it's more stable. But like for microsites or events or conferences, I think, anything,
content pages, landing pages is good for that.
Marketing campaigns, Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's the same thing with like developing apps and software. Like I was talking to a developer the other day who was telling me like, yeah, you can vibe code to a certain point, but then if something breaks, it's going to be really hard to fix it. Or
Yes.
if you need some sophisticated coding that needs to be done, you're
Yes.
going to screw it up.
Yes.
So I would say that it's similar to what I talk to lawyers about, which is I think you can get about 85, 90% of the way to a final product as an attorney
Yeah.
using AI for legal outputs. And then after that, it's on you to polish it and refine it. So what I found, and we'll get into use cases shortly, what I have found is that the attorneys I work with that are actively using AI, they are saving as much as like I would say like 80% of their time doing it. So 10% on the front end to prompt and add the right data, 10% on the back end to polish everything up. And then the rest of the time in the middle is the AI. And you got a human in the loop on either side.
Yeah.
I have a litigation attorney I'm working with who he's does a lot of brief drafting. And we were working on a brief for a case the other day. And he's basically like, this would take me like 2 weeks. It took me 4 hours. That's a good segue because I think like there's a bunch of different AI tools you can use for different things.
Yes.
So what I've tried to do is the other thing is there are legal specific tools and there are non-legal specific tools, general business tools. In this case, like the general business tool is really good. Legal specific tools are still important. Chad and I, we were talking about this the other day, and I think like the thing that's useful about legal tools is they've got all your data in one place. So you don't have to figure out the RAG part of it, like retrieval augmented generation, where you have to get data from other places and pull it into the AI. It's already there. And then I had an attorney who I was talking to the other day, and I was like, "Yeah, are you going to use like Claude for your AI, or are you going to use a legal specific product?" And he was like, "I tend to prefer legal specific products because it's like buying a dog." He's like, "I want a trained dog that already works on the stuff I needed to work on,
Yes.
rather than picking up a dog from the kennel."
Yes.
Which I have no idea how it's going to work exactly. I have no idea how it's going to work with my stuff. And I thought that was an interesting analogy.
Yes. It was like
Um,
not even just a trained dog, a purebred dog.
Yes. Well, yeah, you extended that analogy, which I thought was pretty good.
Yes.
If folks remember Underdog, the cartoon, Polly Purebred was his girlfriend. I watched a lot of TV as a kid. Thank you, Cloud Lex, for having me. This is me, by the way. If anybody's interested, I got a podcast called Legal Late Night where I talk about AI a lot, and then I have a consulting business. I'm terrible at making sales pitches. I don't want to make a sales pitch. I just want to talk about AI. But like, if you want more info about me,
If you need
Google
help,
me.
with your
Website.
firm, talk to Jared. He's been doing it for a while.
Too long. Some would say too long. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm assuming like most folks have heard of this idea of vibe coding, even if it's not something you've ever done. And it's a relatively straightforward concept to understand. And I was talking about this on the podcast the other day. I think lawyers are particularly well situated to use AI. I think the reason for that is like if you look at the way it works, it's basically a large language model making word associations. That's really how AI operates. So it pulls from this large data set and it tries to predict the next word or the next phrase in its response, and as it parses your response as well. So the way that AI is usually arrayed in products is it's a natural language processing tool and a chatbot. So basically, you type at it and ask it to do things. And if there are a set of professionals out there who are well equipped to write effectively, to be precise, to advocate, it's attorneys. So I think attorneys are particularly well suited to use AI. And I think a lot of for the folks on the call who are like, I haven't tried it yet. I don't know if that's because you're afraid to screw it up. I've heard that. I don't know if that's because you're concerned about the data confidentiality issues and the security piece of it. That's fair. I get that. That can be overcome, of course. And I think the best thing to do if you're in that group of people who have not tried, just test it out and try some things. It doesn't even have to be a legal specific thing. I was trying to figure out, so I got these new headphones the other day. The bigger the better, from like these big chunky headphones, and I couldn't figure out how to turn them on. So I took a picture of the headphones using Google Gemini, and then I said, how do I turn the headphones on? And it gave me a tutorial for doing so. Like all these little things you can do on a day-to-day basis is really helpful because AI is great at aggregating data quickly and effectively. So if you think of it in the law firm as if like, oh, this is a paralegal that is brilliant but inexperienced. That's exactly how you want to treat AI. And so you're an attorney, so you can dictate things to people. You can be very precise in your language. You're like the perfect candidate for using AI. So vibe coding is effectively, you can build a software, you can build an application, you can build an automated workflow. We'll get to agents in a second. That's what those really are. Just by typing in what you want the system to do. And the thing I would say is, if you're using a chatbot, which basically all these tools that we're going to talk about are built like chatbots, you want to be very careful about what you're prompting. So the ask, a prompt is an ask. What am I asking the tool to do for me? You want to be as precise as possible. And I would be very comfortable spending a half an hour writing a prompt for a 5-minute output. Because what I don't want to be doing is iterating back and forth, burning more tokens doing that. Because the way that the AI tools work in general are, you get a baseline level of usage, which involves a certain amount of data, a certain amount of operations. And when you surpass that, now you got to pay extra. So you got additional tokens that you're going to have to pay. Or if you don't want to pay extra money to use it, you're going to be in a cooldown period. And you can't use the AI for a certain period of time. So just keep that in mind. The more complex the operations you're running, the more data you're putting into the system, the more you're iterating with it, the more that's costing you. So it is really helpful to be precise on the first ask. And as you're drafting a prompt, you can do that in Microsoft Word if you want to, and cut and paste it. And you're putting in all that extra effort at the beginning. And it's sort of like the measure 9 times, cut once philosophy. So you can build a website by typing in stuff. You can build a workflow by typing in things. You can build an app by typing stuff into a product, that was a non-existent option like a year and a half ago. Sorry, Chad.
Yeah. I want to do another poll in terms of my foundational model of choice, right? So as you talked about, there's kind of the big foundation models, and then there's these legal specific models. And I kind of originally was an adopter of ChatGPT and used that just for like almost over a year. And then this year I started using Anthropic a little bit more. And I kind of turned to Anthropic for what I would call heavy lifting. And like, I just go to GPT as kind of like my friend or collaborator. I don't know if that's how you feel.
I don't see Palantir on here, Chad.
I should have put it. I mean, I just
I think we'll live.
I just asked GPT what I should put in my poll. I'm going to share the results though, because it looks
this is interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what I see too. Okay, so can you leave this up for a second? Do you mind?
Yes.
Okay, so I think everybody started out using ChatGPT. That like I remember when my mom was like, "Hey, what's ChatGPT?" And then I knew like, "Oh, AI is going to be a thing." It's AI. ChatGPT is okay. I've always liked Claude better, especially for lawyers. I think it provides the best answers from a quality perspective. I think it's the easiest to use. And I think it's the most intuitive as a tool. And it's weird to talk about a software as being intuitive, but that's really the case with AI. And Claude has also built, so Claude has its own chatbot called Anthropic has Claude, the chatbot.
Yep.
They've also got Code, which is coding for coders. They've also got Cowork, which is vibe coding for non-coders.
Yeah. And
then the other one on this list I think is interesting is the Gemini platform. I really like Gemini for certain things. I have Google AI Pro, which is only like $24 a month for a single user. And that gives me access to some stuff we'll talk about today. Google Gemini, which is Google's AI chatbot. And the thing with two reasons I like Google's AI chatbot. One is you have the most tokens available there, so you can put in the most stuff before it charges you. Two, it's really good with images, better than Grok, I think. So I usually get a starting point on images I want to build in Google.
With
And then,
Nano Banana.
yep, yep. And then I've also got access to Google NotebookLM, which is a small language model, which we'll talk about, where I can put in a restrictive data set and have it do a whole bunch of things for me. So I mean, I don't know what you use regularly, Chad. It sounds like ChatGPT and Claude, but I've got Claude, the full suite, Google Gemini, and that's what I pay for right now. Copilot, I don't really like. And Grok is a pain in the ass because I have to log into Twitter, and I'm not logged into Twitter often.
Okay.
So that's my ranking.
I want to share real quick. This, hopefully you guys can see our puppy website that we built while discussing here. So again, I went into GPT, asked GPT
13 minutes.
Asked GPT to help create a prompt for this law firm fundraiser where we're looking to adopt puppies. I mean, obviously this is just the first output, and you would want to put real photos of you guys, not fake AI dogs, right? But I mean, and you could just tell it like, hey, replace all of the AI dogs with real photos that I'm uploading here. I mean, it's a pretty powerful shortcut in terms of being able to create something where in the past you might have to pay a web developer $5,000. Who knows?
Right. And then you don't have to, like, if you look at Chad's website, you don't have to be like super descriptive about everything that takes place on that page.
Yes.
You don't have to be like, hey, put a little puppy imprint watermark on the main hero shot.
Yes.
And give me 4 dogs. Like, it'll make some of those decisions on its own, and then you can iterate.
Yep.
But I think the point is, like, the more specifically you prompt, the closer you'll be to your final output. So Loveable is basically like an app building tool. So you can build software, you can build websites, you can build a whole host of different things. And there are other products like that. Manus is another one that a lot of people use. But I think most attorneys that I talk to, they don't necessarily have access to Loveable. Not a ton of them use it, but you could do similar things in like Claude Cowork if you wanted to.
Yes, you can. And I also heard that basically Cowork is essentially code, but it's, it has a UI interface.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yes.
So like non-coding humans can use it and utilize the language they use when they normally speak to other humans.
But I really love the Cowork folder whole functionality and setup and workflow. Like to me, that is very kind of intuitive, as you said. That makes sense to me.
I think Anthropic has the best UI of the frontier AI tools. And I think the other thing to realize is that, like, this is sort of like the situation with cloud storage. Like, you're going to be on AWS.
Yes.
Or you're going to be on Microsoft, whatever
Azure,
I forget what they call it.
yeah.
Azure, yeah. Azure.
Yes.
You're going to be on one of those two places if you're storing data online. For the most part, if you're using an AI product, there's elements of OpenAI and Anthropic. Or Anthropic built into those tools.
And isn't Bezos coming with Prometheus? I saw, or I think Amazon is going to do it too. So
yeah. I mean, Amazon has not jumped the AI train yet. They are coming, and then Apple's AI kind of sucks.
Yeah,
we'll see if that continues.
And you know what was weird is that I also saw a commercial for Alexa, which I thought had been killed, but like it was like a Pete Davidson commercial for Alexa. So I think
they're bringing it back
with Pete Davidson from SNL. So, anyways, all right, tell us about Gemini.
Alexa. What I wanted to do is talk about different use cases, and then talk about specific tools where you can do this. So this is sort of an undercover thing, but I think one of the really effective use cases for AI is for generating client explainers. Like obviously we're talking about PI practice right now. When I talk to personal injury attorneys, like it's always funny to me that like I have to remind my clients constantly that they don't really have to pay me until or leads constantly, they don't really have to pay me until the case is finished. They just don't get that. And so general questions about the practice, common queries that clients have. And you could extend this to leads too. So obviously when you're talking to clients, you want to be able to explain legal concepts to them that may be difficult for them to understand. You may be wanting to produce content for leads that addresses the same issue, like legal information, not legal advice. And so I have found that you can put a set of information into a tool like Google Gemini and say, generate language for me about this that would be understandable by someone with a sixth grade education. Or AI is also good for you to if you've heard this terminology, like explain it to me like I'm 5 or explain it to me like I'm 8. You've heard that before. AI has shorthand for that. So in any AI tool, you can type in ELI 5 or ELI 8, and it will correct whatever information you put in there so that it is ascertainable for somebody in that age group. You could also say, explain something using a specific item. So explain this concept using blocks, or explain this concept using different colored cars, like that kind of thing. So that I found has been really helpful. It's not necessarily a personal injury example, but you can try this for yourself, obviously. I had an attorney I was talking to in Rhode Island the other day, and Rhode Island now has something called the Taylor Swift tax, which is, I think I've got this right. If you have a second home in the state of Rhode Island that's worth more than $1 million, now there's a special tax for you. So I had this attorney that was trying to elucidate this concept for her clients, and she was like, I'm having a tough time doing it. So basically what we did was we pulled in the information about the statute, we pulled in some news articles, and we generated like an explainer that was really helpful to the clients. So almost any use case in terms of like clients, in terms of leads and content marketing, you can tweak anything you've drafted to be more understandable to your client base. Google also has a product called Google NotebookLM, which I was referencing previously. So basically, Google's Gemini is this chatbot tool. That's Google's version of ChatGPT. That's Google's version of Grok. That's Google's version of Copilot. I think we have some questions or comments here. So
We got a question or a comment here from Candace, who says, the two most powerful tools a lawyer can use, far more powerful than any dedicated legal AI, are NotebookLM and Perplexity's Model Counsel. I have not heard of Perplexity's Model Counsel, but they provide access to the best of all frontier models with unlimited token usage. So there you go. I have not. I'll have to check out.
I've not heard of that either.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that a new thing? When did that come out? Like this is the thing. Like we're over here doing a presentation on AI, yes. And like there's like 7 things that happened today that I'm not even aware of. Yeah.
Yes.
I should say this while we're in the mix here. There are some really good websites out there for aggregating data about AI. A couple of them I like. One is called Futurepedia.io, and there's another one called There's an AI for that. And they're not necessarily consumer reports for AI because they're not doing reviews per se. But what they do have is information about products across various categories. So you can say, I want a drafting software that's free. Or you can say, I want a software that is going to allow me to code a website, like Chad just showed you. And it'll aggregate those for you. And if you want to be like, I want to see all the legal specific products that are in your collection, you can see those. Or you could say, I want to see all the accounting products in your collection. So if you're like, hey, this is like drinking from a fire hose, I have no idea what to do, you can utilize one of those tools and get some oversight on that. Okay.
And also go to Instagram and search like AI courses, click on a couple reels, and you will be served an endless stream of AI master courses and how you'll become a millionaire.
God. That won't happen, but you'll be better at using AI.
Yes. The Perplexity product that was mentioned by Candace was Perplexity's Model Counsel and NotebookLM, which Jared just chatted about. All right. Continue.
NotebookLM is awesome. I want to tell you a little bit. NotebookLM is, I think Claude is my favorite AI product But NotebookLM is like number 2 with a bullet.
But
I love it.
Is that because you like creating like fake podcasts and like just listening?
Well,
to
yeah.
them?
That's what I do. That's what I did for the 2 hours before I had this presentation. I was just listening to random podcasts I created. So NotebookLM is crazy good. So 2 things about it that I like. The first thing is like if you're using a traditional frontier model of AI, you're basically accessing the LLM. So the way that most people use that is they say, okay, I got this question. I have this ask. You're going to provide me a text-based output. And that's it. Google NotebookLM is different in 2 fundamental ways. And also I should say, like, for all the Microsoft heads out there, there is a Microsoft Copilot Notebooks tool. I don't like it, but it's similar. Same idea. So as I referenced before, Google NotebookLM is what I would call a small language model. So I can take my data, put it in, whatever that is. That could be 3 websites. That could be 2 Word documents and a PowerPoint. That could be 5 images, whatever I want it to be. And I upload my sources. So the first thing it's going to do is going to analyze my sources. It's going to give me an update. And you can do this right now if you want. There's a free version of Google NotebookLM available, but you're going to have to cool down after you do a few things on it. So the example I often give is, and I'm dating myself here, sometimes I mention this and no one knows who it is, but I'll tell people like pull like 3 or 4 different websites on DB Cooper, the DB Cooper case, and have NotebookLM generate like a suspect list for you. So you got your sources on the right-hand side, you got your summary in the middle, and then on the right hand, you have your studio. And that's how most of the AI tools are set up. And in my studio, I can do a whole bunch of things. So as Chad referenced before, you can put notes in from a meeting, you can put a transcript in, and you can create an audio overview. And the audio overview is effectively a podcast with 2 AI people talking to each other. And it sounds just like NPR. It's crazy. You'll put in, about, hours worth of notes from a meeting. It'll generate like a, 12 to 15 minute podcast. Now I've started doing this in my own consulting because I found that when I followed up with my clients, like I had emails I was sending them, but not many people actually read the emails. But since I've started sending them AI generated podcasts, like they listen to it coming into the office or they listen to it while they're mowing the lawn. And it's just a much better way for them to access the information.
Do you
whole host of
question,
other go ahead.
Do you put like way more kind of context and information you think in the podcast that wouldn't be communicated or sent via just the email?
Well, I'm glad you asked this because this is an interesting question. So I don't like it. It's the same type of notes I would take if I was just having a standard meeting with somebody like pre-AI. But what I found is like the AI tool will sometimes add things to the conversation that I didn't mention when we spoke. It might say so. We might be talking about entity choice, right? And it'll say, "Oh, here's a good tax tip." And I'm like, "Oh, that is a good tax tip. I just didn't have we ran out of time before we got to that." Right. So it's very good in terms of like adding context to what I'm talking about. But, now, so like,
but could it go the other way though? And like for like a contingency plaintiff lawyer, like could it just mention like, and don't forget my billable hour is $350.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you got to check.
I will say that like, I would say it's like probably 99% accurate. And I think part of the reason for that is that like, it's one thing I like about these small language models is that it's only working on the stuff I input. It's not like looking out into the remainder of the LLM and being like, well, let's supplement what this guy is saying with something else. It's using me as the trusted source, which is one of the reasons why I like it. But yeah, you want to check the output, of course. Now, what I have here is like you can do an audio overview, which is effectively a podcast. And what you can do too is this is a change that they made or an upgrade they made about a month ago or so. I can now go in and I can say, hey, here are some notes on this podcast. I want you to avoid saying this thing, or I want you to add this thing, or, this meeting took place on this date. So could you reference that? Could you reference the fact that we're going to talk again in a couple of weeks, like that kind of thing? Yeah. Like you can make these notes and you can customize it in a very specific way, which is a new upgrade to NotebookLM. But you can also do video overviews, which is the same as an AI podcast, except the video version of that. You can build mind maps. And the thing that's cool about this is not like what we talked about before, where I have to go in and design something. There's literally a studio on the right hand side where I just click a button and I get anything I want from that list. Um, when my kids come home from school, sometimes they'll, math is not my strong suit. That's part of the reason why I became a lawyer. Because sometimes my daughter will come home with a math problem and I'm like, yeah, I have no idea how to do this. And I'll take a picture of it, drop it into Google Notebook LM, and I'll have like an explainer and 20 flashcards. So this stuff is great.
Or like,
I'm a big fan of Notebook LM.
and I just got called for jury duty, and they have like that 20-minute video that you watch about jury duty and what it like the process of a trial and like what a courtroom will look like. Like you could even do something like that about the steps of a PI case and have like just a nurture stream of videos to help ease your client's mind about going through a motor vehicle accident case.
And in that case, you probably wouldn't just let the thing run. You would say, hey, create these videos in these segments.
Yes.
And then, one of the things about Google Notebook LM is like they got the Google Notebook LM branding on everything. So if you generate like an infographic or something like that, you'll see the Notebook LM logo on that. But but if you want, you can go into Canva and remove that.
That's right. You just need to go to use another AI program to remove the watermark because they're out there.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of like a moving target right now for AI integration. So I think what's happening is like a lot of companies that are in the legal space, present company excluded, of course, they're like, we got AI, but we don't want anybody to know that our AI is really like 2 versions back of OpenAI or 2 versions back of Claude. And they may not even want you to know that they're really running on Claude. Like, I got news for you. Legal tech companies weren't out there developing their own frontier AI models. That was not happening. So if a legal tech company is using AI, they're using something else and they're white labeling it effectively, which, like I said, means 2 things. One is probably a version or 2 behind, and 2, they're developing it over that time. Now, that's not a bad thing, as we said before. It's the purebred dog model. But Anthropic is really like the first company to dive headlong into this. So as Chad mentioned, they came out with 20 connectors to legal or legal adjacent softwares recently. When I say legal adjacent softwares, I mean things like Microsoft, right? Almost every lawyer uses Microsoft. And then they came out with 12 plugins. So effectively, the way that Claude works is it's like learning skills to act in various different products. So if you haven't used Claude before and you were in Claude Cowork and you were like, draft me a marketing plan with this criteria, it couldn't just do that out of the box. Basically what would happen is it would have to learn the skill to draft in DocX. So you have to add that as a skill. In much the same way you're adding skills for case management softwares, you're adding skills for document drafting tools, whatever it is. So that's coming out in a trickle. Although, as we said before with AI, like stuff seems to come in bunches. So my guess would be that you're going to see more connectors, more plugins coming out. And I think it depends on the company, how aggressive they want to be about, hey, we're partnering with Anthropic versus trying to slow roll it and continue to push their own AI. But I think the Anthropic thing is almost like a snowball. I think just so many lawyers are using it that I think legal tech companies are going to have to build connection points with it.
Yeah, and for me, like the skills, I think is very interesting, especially for lawyers, because it's like, oh, you have, you've done, 50 disc injury cases over the past, 2 decades. Like, a lot about disc injury. Like, you could build a skill in Claude that could be shared with your firm. And now you've put all of that decades of expertise into this skill that's available for everybody at the firm.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different use cases for this. It's staggering. And the question is, I think right now, I think a lot of attorneys already have like traditional legal tech tools like case management software. And I think the question most of them are wrestling with now is like, okay, do I use whatever tools exist in that software And do I have Anthropic on the back of that, assuming that at some point these worlds are going to intersect? And most of the firms I talk to, they probably have both at this point. I have a law firm that I have a lawyer I was talking to the other day that is struggling with email drafting. Just got a bunch of emails, 95% of them, maybe they don't really require her full attention. So she's looking for sort of a shortcut to reply to email. So there's a couple ways to tackle that. One way to do that is you could use an email tool, email management tool, like Fyxer, which I've got listed here, which is pretty good, or Superhuman, where you're going to have a product that will use AI to review messages in your inbox, draft responses for you to send. And again, this is like human in the loop stuff, right? So I'm giving this tool access to my email. That's my part on the front end. It's generating a bunch of drafts for me to review. I go in, I edit those, I send those out. That's the human in the loop on the backside of it. That can be really effective, and that can be a huge time saver for attorneys. Now, the other way you could do this is if you've already got a product like a Claude, you could generate an email reply tool where you say, okay, Claude, now you have access to my Gmail account. Study my responses to specific emails, map those out, and build similar responses to common questions that arise, and just give me a draft of every email that comes in. I'll review that at the end of the day, make some edits, and send it out. That's a little bit more complex. There's a little bit more work on the front end because with a tool like a Fyxer, for example, it's built for that purpose. And I'll do some other stuff too. Like that'll also try to help you organize your emails, set up different subfolders, that type of thing. But you may have more flexibility with building something like that on a Claude, simply because you can design it the way you want to. So we're talking about vibe coding again. So you could have access to an email management / drafting system, or you could go into something like Anthropic, build your own, and build it to suit your specific purposes. There's no wrong way to do it necessarily, and it's kind of cool that you have both options, but that's something I've seen lawyers doing fairly aggressively as well. Correspondence management using AI as a workflow. And then if you end up sending the drafts to a different subfolder, you could theoretically have a clean inbox throughout the day. You can go about doing your normal work, and then at the end of the day or in the morning, you could like check your emails and send them out.
Can we answer a couple questions?
Yeah, I was looking to see what they were. Go ahead.
One is, and I even asked this at Legal Week because every state seems to be having different decisions. I know there's some stuff in New Jersey around AI chatbots and those being allowed.
Yeah.
And
chatbots.
Judges making, attorneys sign affirmations that the documents or legal work was submitted with the use or without AI.
Which is insanely stupid. But we can get to that.
Any opinions, or what do you hear from the people you're talking to?
Okay, so in terms of the chatbots, I think in most states AI chatbots are okay as long as you have a disclaimer in place where you say, "Hey, you're not talking to a human.
Yeah.
This is an AI chat." And I think most of the products have that built in already. Now the bigger question, which is sort of, I don't know if it's unanswerable, it's hard to answer, is what do I do if I have an AI chatbot that goes off the rails, or probably less likely going off the rails, more likely, because we're not at the singularity yet, more likely not trained properly, that answers a question in such a way that's providing legal advice, or engages a client when I don't want to engage client. That could totally happen. And it's not that you can guarantee that it won't, but I think the idea is like you're reducing risk and taking it, like reducing risk in a reasonable way is I think where this probably lands.
Do you think like the ABA will ever come down and start stepping in and having a voice on where AIs should be used in the legal space?
I think the ABA is going to do exactly what the ABA always does, which is like, hey, let's just apply the regular ethics rules to this.
Right.
Should be fine.
Yeah.
I don't think they're ever going to be like,
It's like
hey,
an
here's an AI specific ethics rule.
right. It's an umbrella policy.
Yeah, like if you look at 512, which is their big overarching opinion on AI, they're like, hey, nothing new to see here. No real new issues. We got it covered. And yet they edit the ethics rules every so often. So I just don't think they want to take a stand on it. So I'm not looking for guidance from the ABA,
from the ABA
on this.
So do you think it'll like be state by state that will kind of play out over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I don't even know if states are going to wade
Do anything
into this. Yeah. So I think it's going to be like, good luck, act reasonably. And so attorneys are going to be kind of on their own. So the way I look at that environment is, okay, I got to be careful about how I use this stuff. And I'm not just worried about like ABA stuff. I'm also worried about like, hey, what if there are state laws and federal laws at some point on the use of AI? How do I adhere to that? Because that, in a lot of ways, I think that's a bigger issue. Because if you look at the number of people that like get hooked into a state ethics board inquiry, the numbers aren't necessarily crazy high. So not that I'm encouraging people to mess around and do stuff, but like the numbers are on your side. I think like, I think the bigger thing is like, how do your clients perceive of you?
Yes.
And if they're on a chatbot and it's going haywire, that ain't good.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would do two things. I would make sure that I test any AI chatbot that I'm using relatively heavily, just to make sure it works the way I want it to. And then I am probably also trying to put like specific safeguards around that too. Like the system does not address this issue. Or if a question like this is asked, the response is, hey, we'll get you to a human. Like that. It's all about road mapping, which attorneys have not traditionally been great at. But I think you want to test a system like that heavily before you use it. And just quickly, the other thing that was mentioned there is like court systems being like, hey, this document was produced using AI. I got news for you. If you're using Microsoft Word, the document was produced using AI. That's a stupid rule.
Now, is that fair though? Is that fair? Like, is Word really AI compared to what, because,
it's not the same.
Yeah.
But when you get like spelling completion, spelling checking and like completions, phrase completions and stuff, that's all AI now.
Yeah.
What I would say to that is like, I think what the judges and court system are concerned about is hallucinations. So really the verification should be, we've checked every source, or, we require that there's a hyperlink to a Westlaw citation in every brief.
Right.
I think that's a better solution.
Right.
Because this whole thing about I used AI to create this,
Right. Yeah.
that's pretty much every document that's ever been created.
Right.
Now, and going back 3 years.
And if it's kind of like this checks and balance, that feels more like a teacher-parent thing. Like, okay, you got to sign this saying that you didn't use AI versus like, okay, well, you sign this saying that you did your job and you checked the sources, versus.
And ideally, you have that internal as a workflow in the firm. Like when firms get messed up on the hallucination thing, I think what's happening is there's a lack of workflow oversight in the firm. So something got out that like an associate attorney just ran through AI and didn't even check. So there should be somebody in the firm who's the managing attorney who signs off and says, I checked this, the law is right, the hallucinations are right, the perception is right as well. So we're good to go. And most firms don't do that.
Again, back to the personal connection, authenticity seems pretty important in personal injury law. Yet then what do you do when you have an AI avatar version of you, like in your social media videos, because you're so busy, and you're not creating authentic content?
Right. I mean, which is not a great idea anyway, because if you're using AI clones, like YouTube's not going to like that. And now when you're posting videos on YouTube, they're asking you, are you using AI to create this video? And if it's wholly AI, you're getting downgraded. So it's got to be at least a mix. One thing I'll say on the chatbots before I do the speed run is, I used to have a software product that was a chat product that we sold. And I'm a big signposting person. Like, I think one of the big things that's missing in terms of like managing intake is telling people what's coming. So this is not a PI example. It's just the first thing that came to my head. Like we had a lot of estate planning clients. So when you're intaking people, especially at a second level, like you've signed them up and now you got to ask them financial information about their case, like nobody's going to be like, oh, yeah, here, let me give you all this sensitive information and tell you about my children and how much my house is worth and stuff like that. So we used to do a lot of, okay, in this section, we're going to ask you about your children. We're going to be asking 5 to 7 questions. Should take about 5 minutes. And the reason we're asking you for this is because if you pass away, we want to know what happens to your kids. Like who's going to take care of them? How are you going to provide funding for them? Like that kind of thing. And that stuff is really helpful. So if you put yourself in the shoes of your client or your lead, and you say, okay, if I knew nothing about the law, what would I want to know about this that would be useful to me and would make me say, oh, okay, like this person's not just being a tool. They're asking me for this information, not to waste my time, but because it's important to the case. Yeah. That's how you want to think about things. Can I do the speed run?
Do it.
Next is drafting documents. So you can use AI to draft documents really anywhere. Most of the software products these days will have an option to draft a document. I know a lot of attorneys who use Grammarly, actually. And Grammarly, people view it as sort of like a spell check, grammar check kind of tool. But you can also do things in there like draft emails like you can in Fyxer, or draft documents from scratch, or using templates. So that option exists as well. So I often tell people, like, if you've got a software, my guess is that you're probably only using less than 40% of its capability. So if you got a tool like Grammarly or just using it for grammar checking, there's more that you can use there. Legal research agents are helpful too. Lexis has Protégé, which is not super great, but Westlaw has CoCounsel, which is better. And there are other research companies out there that also have these legal research agents. And the idea is, like, if you populate a question, they're going to allow you to generate the research trail or the start of a research trail so you can get started. The notion is like, okay, imagine if you had a research associate, an attorney that could help you. Believe it or not, I know a lot of lawyers who haven't either upgraded to an AI version of legal research or who have it, but don't use it aggressively enough. So if you have these built-in legal research agents, much like you would with Google NotebookLM, where you have the studio available to you, you should try them out and use them. I talked about this on a podcast the other day, but one of the big consternation points for AI is hallucinations, like made up cases. And actually, the other part of this that's, I think, a little bit more nefarious, which people don't talk about as much, is incorrect case interpretations by the AI, even if there's a correct case citation. So both West and Lexis have tools that will allow you to root out hallucinations using this feature called Quick Check. So, and it works in 2 ways. You can put your own stuff in there. You can put stuff in there that's been written by other attorneys, and it will tell you whether citations are not verified or whether there's an incorrect interpretation. That takes about 2-3 minutes, and that's a really useful thing to do. Another product I really like is called Notion. Notion is basically a highly customizable project management, task management tool, which can be connected with case management software is using a third-party bridging software like Zapier. And Notion has some great AI in it. AI is really good at figuring out workflows. AI is really good at figuring out a next step if you've already built a workflow. AI is good at making really granular workflows or expanding those out. So if you haven't used Notion before and you're looking for a project management tool, it's quite good. And it's got some really good AI. Task Aid is another one that's really helpful as well. You could build an intake workflow in Notion, but you could also build one using an agent tool like ChatGPT or Google Gemini Gems. And the idea here is that if you have an intake workflow, if you have an idea that you want an intake workflow, but you don't know how it's built exactly, you can vibe code your way through that effectively by saying, here's my practice, check out my website. I want to build an intake workflow that suits my firm. Here's the software I use, and you can get a pretty good roadmap. And if you went the next level on that, you could also build out an intake agent, or you could even build out a content marketing agent like I talked about before. Like if you're like, hey, I want to do more content marketing, but I can't seem to find the time to do any blog posts. Like, take 10 things you've written, feed it into Claude Cowork, have it draft blog posts for you, have them post it to your WordPress site, and you review and publish, and it can even send you analytic reports. There's a whole host of stuff you can do. Oh, I included that. This is not related to legal at all, but there I ruined it is probably the best use case of AI in human history. It is a mix. It's like weird song mixes. So the Beach Boys singing 50 Cent and that kind of thing. All right, I went a minute over on the speed run. I'm sorry, everybody.
It's okay, but we got some questions that we should answer. What is a good AI tool for medcrons and demand letters? Plug for Cloud Lexi. More of a comment. It can take a solid week to deep dive into an AI platform. What is the best way to stay focused on and master 2 to 3 platforms?
If it's me, I'm throwing most of my stuff through Google and Claude. Those are the two I'm focusing on. I tell people, like, if I had a law firm and I was launching it tomorrow, my two primary softwares would be Claude and Microsoft 365 because I can use those in conjunction.
What do you say to firms that forbid the use of AI? What AI tools and use cases
Terrible
do you
idea.
present? Yeah, you will be lost. You present first, emphasize most to break down those aversions. How do you address cost concerns, especially for small returns, tight budgets?
That's a great question.
I think, so there's kind of a two-parter there, right? I think it's like if you're a firm that's forbidding the use of AI, that's not a good path for the future, right?
Stop that, because you're gonna be deep into shadow AI, which is everybody's gonna be using AI anyway, and throwing all your confidential data in there.
And then like in the firm meeting when you talk about AI, and there's the one person who's been using AI but won't tell anybody that they've been using AI.
Right.
And how do you address
Yes.
cost concerns, right? For small firms, they're already spending money on case management software. I think it might be what you're like, boil it down and just pick, a couple and go with that.
So here's the thing about budget. Can I vamp on this for a second? We still got some people with us.
Yes.
I think, like, if you've got a tool that is a legal specific tool that all your data is hooked into already, and it's got an AI, use that to start with. And then I think I would, like, if you're not using any AI in the firm right now outside of that, I think I would start. I think I would probably look at workflows. Like, I might look at like Anthropic and get Claude. Get like the cheap version of Claude, like the $20 per person version, and just use that yourself and see what you can get out of it for the firm. And then I think you can launch it from there. Even if you start with using like non-legal use cases, you could use legal specific use cases, and then you could get up to the point where, like, maybe you launch it in a practice group, and then maybe you launch it across the whole firm. Like, unless you're like a big firm, I found that very few firms are going out there like launching the enterprise version of Claude, like right off the rip, without like any in-between steps. The other thing I would say is, like, people think AI is expensive now, but this is like the golden time because it's only going to get more expensive. Yeah. Like, I was talking to a tech exec the other day, and he was like, look, if I've got an AI product that can replace a staff person at a law firm, what is that product worth to the law firm? Well, in theory, it's worth as much as a staff person. So let's say it replaces a $70,000 a year paralegal. That's a $70,000 AI product. And maybe it's more than that, because the AI product doesn't need to take a nap or doesn't like flail at lunchtime and can work 3 shifts consecutively without needing to sleep. Isn't that a $210,000 product? Yeah. And if the output is better, isn't it a $250,000 a year product? Yeah. So I would dive in now.
Have you seen any PI firms expensing AI to the case? This came up when
the ethics opinions.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't really do it. Like, you can't. If you read all the ethics opinions, it is overhead to the firm, and you can't charge your clients overhead. That's fairly settled at this point.
Right. Even if maybe the AI does it on a per case basis, it still feels a little, maybe a gray area you would want to avoid.
Like, if the idea is like, let me skirt that general rule by allowing my clients to opt in, and I'm going to use AI on their case, I still think you'd get in trouble for that. I mean, what's great about PI is You're not billing by the hour. Like, so really, the more efficient you can be, the better, because more cases you're going to move through. There's almost no downside for you. So I don't see why you would need to charge for AI.
All right. Well, that's it, Jared. We're 6 minutes over, but it was worth it.
What a day.
What a day. And thank you for contributing to the Trial Lawyers Journal and Cloud Lex.